Welcome to the Action Network podcast. My name's Matt Moore. I'm filling in for Brendan Glasheen this week. Brendan's off enjoying his honeymoon at a fancy resort in Barbados down in the Caribbean. I can see like the open white shirt and just ridiculousness of Glasheen, shades on, enjoying it in my head right now. Everybody here at Action Network wishes the happy couple all the best for him taking time during NFL season, because really, what better time than that? Today we got NFL best bets from the one and only Brandon Anderson for NFL Week 5. As a reminder, you can find all of Brandon's picks in the free award-winning Action Network app, including any futures or awards bets. And Lord knows he's going to have some creative ones that are going to make you cock your head and be like, what? And then you'll read his analysis and be like, I want to bet that now. Along with all of his great articles, check it out in the Action Network app. Want to make sure that you check out youtube.com/The Action Network. You can catch a video version of this podcast. You can catch our MLB playoff betting podcast, Playoff Pitch. Sean Zarrillo and the crew do such a great job there. You can catch our NHL podcast, Line Change, because NHL season is starting. And you can catch Buckets, which I host, as well as WNBA Buckets for the ongoing WNBA playoffs. Check that out at youtube.com/The Action Network. Okay, without further ado, let's get into some best bets for Week 5. All right, for your first pick, Brandon, you're going bold here. One of the biggest games on the board. It's one of the tightest spreads on the board, and you're going to go strong on taking a side here.
I am. I'm going to take the Bills against the Texans. And yeah, this one is basically a coin flip. I'm going to grab the money line, -108. We're getting money on both sides. For me, this is the one bet this week that I've had in ink since Sunday night. This is the team that, one, I know I believe in. We're buying low on the Bills, even after disastrous last week. And just continuing to sell on the others. We bet against the Texans last week. I think it was the right play. Betting against them again. It's the Stephon Diggs revenge game, right? But which side wants revenge here? I'm not so sure that necessarily should give us a direction. So both defenses are good, not great, I would say. They're top 10, not top 5. That's what the DVOA says. Bills' run defense, closer to average. We saw that go very badly last week. They didn't have their linebackers out there. Derrick Henry is gashing them. Guess who doesn't have Derrick Henry? Houston has not run the ball well at all. Houston's O-line is struggling. The Bills have injuries too, but Laramie Tunsil, I think, is a big miss for Houston if he's continuing to be out. The Texans' run defense is really good. Well, that's pretty good. Buffalo likes to run the ball, but the secondary is beatable there. Buffalo is third DVOA in passing, and you got to trust Josh Allen here. Anything under field goal favorite for Josh Allen, 25, 13, and 2 against the spread for his career, 66%. 2 out of every 3 he covers. And really, just zoom out, take the teams away here. This is just a great spot to back a good team after a blowout loss. Here's the stat. Teams with a 60% win rate or better after a 20-point loss. 65% against the spread the last 2 decades. On the road, 40, 12, and 1. 77% cover rate, Buffalo here. So, I'll play the Bills. If you're wondering why the money line, why wouldn't I play the money line -108 when you're playing -1 at most books, -110? I can win at 1 instead of pushing, but let's go back to we're doing escalators today, Matt. You're on with me. We got to do escalator season. So back to an angle that I think we should hit last week. 6 of 9 Texans losses since the start of last season by double digits, averaging 19.3 points a game. When they lose bad. When Buffalo wins, 7 wins since the start of last season by 20 or more points. So the main bet is the Bills money line. But let's play the escalator. Bills 10-point win or better, plus 330. And let's go for Bills 20-point win or better, plus 1060. We're going in. The Bills just lost by that much. How about we get it right back this week?
Okay, we gotta keep it moving, but I do have 2 quick questions. One, if Joe Mixon suddenly, he did not practice, was not seen this week at practice, if he suddenly is upgraded and he's in, does that worry you at all?
It does not worry me. I don't love it, but Mixon doesn't really move the needle for me. The Houston's running game has not gone well with or without him, really.
Okay, he was awesome early in the season, but I understand. The second one is Texans are ranked 10th in market power ratings at unpredictable.com. Is it fair? I've heard some discussion on podcasts this week to have the Texans way lower, and some that are like right in that area or higher at like 4th. Is it accurate to say you're a lot lower on the Texans there?
I wouldn't say a lot, but I would definitely say lower. I would say not 10th, probably closer to 13 to 14. Mixon was great week 1. That was more the Colts run defense, I think. Houston has not run the ball well.
Fair enough. All right, for your second pick, it's the other tightest spread on the board, but that's just because no one wants to trust either team to do anything, and neither team should ever be favored in any contest. Dolphins, Patriots, a classic that will give new meaning to the phrase bumping uglies. And you have a total play on this one.
Yeah, you know I love a good, ugly, nasty under. Let's go under the 36.5. Look, we played the Dolphins under on Monday night. I didn't get to complain because we had to record Sunday night. So I'm going to complain. We got screwed. 22-6 with under 4 minutes left. We're at 28 points. We are coasting to the underest under that ever undered. Then we get a touchdown, then a safety, then some screwy rule they made up where they kick off from the free kick. And with the new kickoff rule, somebody touched it the wrong way and blah, blah, blah. You get the ball at the 10? What? What is that? Then we get a 4th down touchdown, 43 points, whatever. That is an under all the way. That was the right play. We're going back to the under here for Miami. So here's the numbers for this season. Miami Dolphins, who, by the way, I bet on this podcast to lead the league in points this year. Yeah, go ahead and just throw that ticket away. That's done. That's out. They're averaging 11.3 points a game. And if you take out week 1 when they had Tua, they weren't very good anyways, but you take that one out, 3 games. 8.3 points a game when they haven't had Tua for the entire game. They scored 10, 3, and 12 points. Zooming a little further. Since Tua got injured, Miami has had 28 drives. They've scored 1 touchdown. It's that one I just mentioned with 4 minutes left of a blowout. They've turned it over 9 times, mostly on downs. They can't do anything. New England's defense is pretty good. Tyler Huntley starts again. Tyler Huntley games for his career, 10 starts, under 33 points a game. Not him, both teams. Tyler Huntley is a killer of football that we can watch. The Patriots are 13 points a game for the season. They're at 16, 23, and 13. Neither team has offense here. We don't have to watch this time. It's not Monday night. There's other games. There's games on Sunday all day long. We can just let the money happen for us in the background. Both these teams are bottom 6 run offense, bottom 6 pass offense. Both defenses are pretty good. And, you know, the usual trends that we always say here, totals 38 or below that drop 4.5 or more from open. This was 45 before the season, 63% to the under. Totals 37 or below since November 2019, 37, 13, and 1 to the under, 74%. That's 3-1 this year. The 1 is the one we just lost on Monday. We're getting it back this week. And, man, I have a question for you, actually, before I make the last pick here. What's the opposite of an escalator? Is it like a de-escalator? What word do I need that's the opposite of an escalator?
I would say that you mean in terms of it being slow, or you mean being a straight drop down?
Yeah, drop down. If I can't go up, I'm on an under. How can I? What's the word for escalating under?
It's a mine shaft.
All right. Well, let's take the mine shaft. Under 36.5 on the play, but I just gave you that totals 37 or under stat. There's 51 games on that stretch. 30 of those 51 games, 30 of them finished at 30 points or below. That's 59%. We are taking the ugliest alt under 30.5 plus 200 on the mine shaft, right? That's what we're playing here. Mine shaft all the way down. Let's get ugly here.
I will say you don't really love it because you won't watch it. Like, I will watch this game. I will bet this, and I will put this game on one. I will put it in the quad box. I won't have it on the original. How long until the Dolphins just give it up and trade for Russell Wilson? That's my question. Go get Russ. Let Russ cook. All right. You got a prop play up next, and it's against a team that I cannot stop betting against, no matter how many times they pull a cover out from their tuchus. So I'm excited for a new way to attack this team. Give me your prop play.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard, Carolina Panthers running back, over 58.5 rushing yards. You know it's a good one when I have to tell you what team they play for and what position he is. I think this game, look, a lot of people are on Panthers here. It's Panthers-Bears. It's the Bryce Young game, basically. Hopefully no Bryce Young involved here. That's part of the cap. The total is falling. A lot of folks on the Panthers. It's a windy game, so I'm not playing the Panthers here. If the Panthers are good in a windy game, how about they run the football? That makes a lot of sense to me, right? If you're ahead, you're protecting the lead. If it's windy, you're running the football. The Bears defense is pretty good, top 5 in DVOA, but they're bottom 3 against the run so far. That's weird because last year they were great against the run, but so far, Tony Pollard, 16 carries, 82 yards against the Bears. Mixon played them, got hurt. Jonathan Taylor, 23 for 110. Kyren Williams, 19 for 94. Teams are just running the football on Chicago, and I think Carolina will do that. Chuba Hubbard, if you look at the numbers so far, has been a really big beneficiary of the Andy Dalton switch, right? Everyone has been, but the young line has played well for Carolina. Why Dalton in the run game? Well, Dalton's not running. Dalton's competent, right? You move the chains, you keep the football, you can run the football when you have the football, it turns out. So Hubbard, the first 2 games with Bryce Young, 6 carries for 14 yards. That's an entire game stat for him. 10 carries for 44 yards in the other game. 2 games since then with Dalton, 21 for 114, 18 for 104. The matchups helped a little bit, but Dalton helped a lot more. Only 8 guys in the NFL have multiple 100-yard rushing games. Hubbard's done that both the last 2 weeks. He's top 10 in rushing yards. He's the number 6 PFF running back ahead of Alvin Kamara and Bijan Robinson. He's good at yards after contact. I think it's a line that should be, I would honestly put it more like 75 or 80. I think just the name recognition's not there yet for Chuba Hubbard and Carolina. So over 58.5 rushing yards. And again, it's escalator day. 80 plus is plus 245. 110 plus is plus 950. Watch the app. It's a lot of numbers here. I'll put in what units for different things here. Basically on an escalator, something like 60% of your bet should go on the main thing, 25% on the miniature escalator, and then like 15% on the top level. And hopefully we hit all the way up like we did with Jaden Reed, Green Bay last week.
I've been watching Stranger Things with my kid, and so a lot of it's in the mall in season 3. And I just imagine all the pump hairdos going up the escalator every time you mention this. The show has more escalators than Mall of America. This last one, I knew you would have this game because I love is maybe strong. You really like this team. I think even relative to how hard they are in the market, which is pretty strong. And you think the other one is hot garbage, and you called it that early in preseason. What's your last best bet?
Yeah, nothing fancy here. Just Packers -3 at the Rams. One team that I love, I will say it. One team that I hate, happy to say that part. Before the season, part of the cap on the Rams, a big part of it was their defense just not being good. And that has played out. They are 31st in DVOA. They're 31st against the run. They're 31st against the pass. There's only 32 teams. 31st is not a great place to live, as it turns out. They've given up at least 24 points every game so far, not even against the best competition. The Packers are 3rd on offense by DVOA, top 10 run, top 5 passing, and that despite 4 games so far, 2 from Malik Willis, 1 on an ice rink in Brazil, 1 with Jordan Love returning from injury. It's a lot of excuses, I know, but because despite all those things, they're still 3rd offensively. Last week, once Jordan Love shook off the rust and settled in, 29 points in barely over a half. Now, he scored 0 the first half. That part counts too. But I think 29 would get the job done for us here. So I did consider just the team total, right? Why not just go to the team total over 25.5? If this moves off -3 past the key number, I think that's probably a good pivot for you. At the key number, I just feel like we have more outs here. Green Bay does play slow, so that could maybe limit the scoring a little bit. Even if they're up ahead, I think they'll run the football a lot. I don't mind Green Bay's defense. The secondary is beatable, but the Rams don't have receivers. I like playing the -3. It's at the key number. Gives us more outs, right? It gives us the Stafford just made some bad plays out. Give us some other ways to get there, even if Green Bay doesn't score a ton of points. So keep it easy. Just taking the better team. It's on the road. Nah, not in LA. There's going to be Packers fans of that game too. Just keep it easy. Packers -3.
All right. That's Brandon Anderson's best bets for week 5. Want to let you know that I mentioned Sean Zerillo earlier in the baseball team. They've been absolutely phenomenal. He had another great year, Sean did, in baseball, finishing the Major League Baseball regular season up more than 25 units. And with Action Pro, you get instant notifications every time Zerillo or any of our action experts make a pick in the Action app. Just visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use the promo code October for 15% off an Action Pro subscription. That's 15% off at actionnetwork.com/pro with the promo code October. And be sure to check Sean out every week talking Major League Baseball playoffs on the Playoff Pitch podcast. All right. Up next, it wouldn't be a Brandon Anderson episode without long shots. I don't know why we have a long shot segment considering you've played escalators on everything except Packers. Let's run through your big go big or go home plays this week, Brandon.
Yeah, so first one is give me Justin Fields to score a touchdown, plus 185 Sunday night against the Cowboys. I know Six Pack likes the Steelers here. This is my way of playing the Steelers matchup. I think it's a nice matchup because Dallas is dead last in run defense for the season. Well, Pittsburgh's got Arthur Smith. All they want to do is run the football. Their offensive line has been pretty good this year. We saw that in Atlanta. Wherever he goes, the offensive line outperforms. Why? Because it's way easier run blocking. You get to go do the thing rather than protecting the thing. So I looked for rushing yards overs here. Honestly, I wanted to play Najee Harris over 69 yards, 3 out of the 4 games. There's no lines yet. We got lots of injuries. We don't know who's going to play a running back. All right, how about a running back quarterback? Just Justin Fields. Dallas has allowed a quarterback rushing touchdown 6 of their last 14 games. Like, that is a really high number for a quarterback rushing touchdown. Almost half of their games. Fields has scored 3 of Pittsburgh's 6 offensive touchdowns on the ground this season. So he's got all the rushing touchdowns, plus 185. But, I was looking at the rushing yards. I talked myself into this one at the last minute. Just a little sprinkle on our sprinkle. So Fields' yardage is 43.5. I don't need it. He has a 55, he has a 57, but he's gone under a couple times. I don't like the median outcome there. But you know what we haven't had for a while? Just a big, long, fun Justin Fields run, right? Like breaks through the coverage, gets scampering 60 yards down the sideline. All right, how about we go for the outlier? 100 yards for Justin Fields. He's done that 5 times in his career, 11% of the time. We get it at 12-1. We got odds in our favor here. He's at 82 yards or better rushing in 23% of his starts. So I think 1 in 4 times, maybe more, because it's Dallas. We're 1 run away. Just 1 scamper. Sunday night. You got to watch anyways. Steelers, Cowboys. You may as well have something fun to do. Justin Fields, touchdown, plus 185. Sprinkle the 100 yards, 12-1.
25% of the time, it works every time. It's basically like how that played out. That's here. Right. All right, what's next?
Derrick Henry, 100 rushing yards and 2 scores. I'm mad. I'm betting this one mad. Always a good place to come to a bet. We bet this on this podcast in week 2 against the Raiders because when Derrick Henry's team win, they get yards and touchdowns. So we got a touchdown. We got 80 yards. We're up 10 going to the 4th quarter against the Raiders. They didn't win the game, so we didn't hit our bet because that's how the thing is supposed to work. So I went away from it. So what happened the last 2 weeks? Derrick Henry, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't play it. I'm playing it. I think the Bengals are not the right matchup for the Ravens. Their defense is not good. Their bottom 10 run, bottom 10 pass defense. Derrick Henry in his career has 20 games of 100 yards and 2 scores. Nobody else since he started playing is even half that number. He is something else entirely. And importantly for this play, if you don't think Baltimore wins this game, do not play this. I like Baltimore. I don't need to play the median outcome, the minus 2.5. All but 2 of those 100-yard, 2-touchdown games have been wins for Derrick Henry. So minimize the overall number of games. He's got 18 games of 102 in 68 wins. 26% of the time Henry wins a game, he hits 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. We're at plus 300. Basically where we want that. We're getting this at plus 600 if you get the right book out there. So 100 yards, 2 scores for Derrick Henry. That's the play.
So wait. But are you including a Ravens money line on that?
I'm not including a Ravens money line only because I get it. I get the face. I looked at it. Basically, books are not giving me any bonus for that. It moves it up like 50 points or something. And I don't feel like that's worth it. He does have other outs to get there. And for that little bit of bonus on what's already a long line, I didn't feel like I needed it. Check your book, see what the line looks like. If it boosts it enough, I think it's definitely worth playing.
I've never seen you not be greedy before. That's surprising. All right, this next one. I was so excited to do this podcast, and then I saw this, and I was like, of course he's doing this to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, 2 more. I'm just going to do them together because they're both for you, Matt. They're just special since you're on here today. These are futures bets, but they're proxy bets for angles I like this week. I liked Denver at home against the Raiders. I think the one good unit in that game is Denver's defense. They're top 5 at DVOA. They're allowing under 14 points a game. I don't really need Denver against the Raiders. The Raiders are on an 8-game win streak in the rivalry. It's a -3 now at the key number. We kind of missed it, but here's how you can play it. Broncos division 35-1. I wrote about both these teams this week in the 2-2 power rankings. They're both 2-2. That means, let me help you out with the math, one team is going to be 3-2 at the end of Sunday. Between these two teams, I think it's the Broncos. And if the Chiefs, with all their missing guys, lose Monday night, Denver is suddenly one game out of the division 5 weeks into the year at 35-1. That's just an insane number. Do I think Denver's going to win the division? No! They got Knicks. Knicks isn't going to win the division, but 35-1, now we're talking. That's the play. The other play is, if you think that the Chiefs are vulnerable with all their injuries on Monday night, Derek Carr, MVP, 80-1. Again, I don't think Derek Carr is going to win MVP. This sounds like a terrible world to live in, but is he 80-1? I don't know. He's the number 1 quarterback in PFF grade right now. He's 4th in EPA plus CPOE. That is consistently a good marker for who wins MVP. He's on a friendly Kubiak system. And think of it this way. The Saints won 2 games huge. Then they lost 2. Flip the schedule around. How would we be thinking about Derek Carr right now if they lost 2 games and then won 2 huge games, one of them against Dallas? We'd be all super high on the Saints. Then they go to Monday night in Arrowhead where Derek Carr's played a lot of games. You beat the MVP favorite. You're not getting MVP smoke after that. Just a quarter unit, 80-1. It's a Saints money line angle. I think these bets are in play. I'm sorry. I'm betting a little bit against your Chiefs here.
A little bit. You're taking a team quarterbacked by a guy with negative yards at half last week to win the division. Negative yards. I mean, don't get me wrong. Down running back 1 and wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. I get it. But jeez, Broncos 35-1. This is more Sean Payton is good outside of Drew Brees nonsense. Let me ask you this. If Derek Carr, based off of this season's results, were to win MVP, would he be more or less deserving than Lamar Jackson last year?
That is an excellent question to ask. He would clearly be more deserving because Lamar Jackson should not have been top 5 last year.
Just wanted to ask that one. All right. As always, super valuable part of the show. We're going to get to the look ahead for week 6. Brandon gives you the best insights into what to bet now before next week's lines. Brandon?
Yeah, last week's look ahead, not looking ahead so great right now. We had the Jets against the Vikings and the line moved against us. I'm not buying out of that. I still think it's a good spot for the Jets. There's a lot of trends on them. I'm not going to add to it, but just commenting on that here. We like to get the CLV. We get the minus CLV on this one. I feel better about week 6. Week 6, we're going to go to Dallas to fade Dallas. We're going to play the Lions, minus 2.5 in Dallas at the Cowboys. We love a Sunday afternoon Cowboys letdown, don't we? Remember the last time these teams played? Guess who remembers? Dan Campbell remembers. It was week 17 last year. It's 20-19, 30 seconds left. The Lions have just scored a touchdown. They line up to go for 2. They make the 2 on a great play call, but nope. Dan Skipper, backup lineman, didn't report, so they took the 2 points away. Detroit drops out of the 1 seed, even though Skipper did report, by the way. How do I bet on a Dan Skipper anytime touchdown next week? Sign me up for that play next week. I think the Lions remember that one, and I just love this matchup for them. Dallas might lose Sunday night in Pittsburgh. They would drop to 2-3. This line is going to be moving if they do. They're missing Micah Parsons, missing DeMarcus Lawrence, Deron Bland, their star corner. Brandon Cooks is out. Guess who's not missing guys? Detroit. They're watching football this week. They're off the bye week. So Dallas is ailing. Detroit's home resting. Road favorites coming off a bye week, 60% against the spread. We mentioned this earlier. Dallas is the worst run defense in the league. Guess who wants to bite kneecaps and run the football? Detroit might run for 300 yards in this game, especially if Frank Ragnow is back. So one book has the minus 2.5 out there. Another has a minus 3. Get it before the key number. Lions minus 2.5 for next week.
All right, so you think they might lose and then lose the letdown spot too? You think they might lose the Steelers because they're banged up. And then
I
at
think that they
home,
might lose this week, and then the line will go past the 3, and it'll be -4 next week, and then the Lions will win by 3, and then we'll win the look ahead, and everyone else will be on the Lions, and they'll lose their bet. That's why we play the look ahead now. I think we should bet against Dallas as often as we can right now. They're not that good.
I mean, when would that happen? Except every single time I'm late to tail you on look ahead. Okay, interesting. So if they're going to be 2-4, if you think that there's a good chance the Cowboys are going to be 2-4, does that prompt you with anything on the NFC East?
I have my eye on not Washington, but Philadelphia. The problem is Washington has a really soft schedule for the first 9 weeks of the season. They've got a couple rough weeks here, but then another soft stretch, then really tough in the back half. So I think that's smart to think about fading Dallas, but I am not ready to quit Philadelphia, but a lot of the metrics out there don't love them in the spot where they're at. I think it's a play like a month from now. I think we get the dip on Washington first, a game or two, then back up. And then as the leaves start to fall and we get to November and Cliff Kingsbury remembers it's the second half of the season, then, my friend, then is when we fade Cliff Kingsbury, not with Dallas. So maybe some value is gone. That, I think, becomes the Philadelphia spot maybe. Maybe fade Dallas if you want. If you can find it out there at a book, maybe first coach fired still out there if they fell to 2-4 and, you know, Bill Belichick's name just floating out there. I don't know, maybe something like that. That's more fun to me.
Yeah, on the Lions -2.5 at Cowboys next week, I think the analysis is really sound because even if Cowboys were to win, I think that even if they move this towards Cowboys, I feel like Sharps would come in and immediately move this back.
Yeah, and that's part of too. When I'm looking at one of these, like, okay, what if I'm wrong and the line moves the other way? How will I feel? We did that with the Jets game. I still feel okay with it. Like if the line moves a little bit towards Dallas, I'm effectively still just needing Detroit to win by field goal here. But if I wait and I miss, I might miss the key number. So I'd rather just grab it now. I'm sure I will be on the Detroit side because of the bad run defense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, look, I understand why you still feel good about the Jets. I mean, all they did was lose to a team with a quarterback with negative yards a half.
Yeah, thanks for our teaser, by the way. Both of us failing on the Jets on that one.
That one hurt. But this weekend's going to be better, and you can have a better weekend by following all of Brandon's picks in the award-winning and free Action Network app. That's going to do it for our NFL Week 5 Best Bets here on the Action Network podcast. As a selfish little plug, you can hear more from Brandon Anderson over on the Buckets podcast. We did our Elite 100, which is the 100 most impactful players in the NBA, the most elite of the elites. And we argued all sorts of things on the Friday episode, which you can check out right now. That's live. Also, check out the Action Network Discord server to chop it up with the experts and fellow gamblers during these games. You're going to find a lot of cool conversation with guys like Sean Kerner and all the folks in there, like some really smart bettors in there. So go check out that. There's a link in the description of this podcast. Don't miss our Week 5 betting preview episode with Stuckey and Raybon, including the Sunday six-pack. Also out now, and we'll be back next week with more best bets. It's been a lot of fun filling in this week for Brendan Glasheen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys again next time on the Action Network podcast.